Hey y'all, welcome back to Save with a Twist podcast, the place where we love Jesus, but we also love boundaries, discernment, and a little bit of petty when necessary. I'm your host, your sis, your friend, the one who's probably going to be blocking somebody by the end of this episode, Dorissa, but you can call me D. Now let's see how the Lord moves in this episode. Today, we are officially stepping into the first real episode of something I like to call Saints and Situationships. Listen, this is the ministry nobody asked for, but everybody needs. Because being saved does not mean you're out here making perfect dating decisions. It just means you're trying your best not to choose the person God clearly did not send your way. And if you have found yourself in a relationship, a non relationship, situationship, or whatever you're calling it, and you're doing emotional gymnastics, trying to make it make sense, baby, this episode is for you. This is Saints and Situationships, faith, red flags, and emotional gymnastics. Let's talk about it. So let's start with a little bit of a twist for the week because TikTok has been wild lately, y'all. Apparently, we're not in situationships anymore, we're in delusionships. And according to TikTok, a delusionship is when you create a whole relationship in your mind with someone who has shown you the emotional capacity of a houseplant. And the fake one at that, not even a real one. And truthfully, the houseplant, even though it's fake, would probably give you a little bit more effort. One girl literally said, he told me he wasn't looking for anything serious, but my spirit believed in the imagination. Imagination of what, girl? What are you imagining? This is not Beauty and the Beast. This is not a Disney romance. It's not a fairy tale. It's not going to work out for you, hon. And then over on Christian TikTok, I've seen everybody giving dating advice like wait on God, don't settle, be approachable, be high value, don't be too picky, but also don't compromise. It's giving do everything and all the things or you'll be single forever. And I'm really convinced half of Christian TikTok is just going off vibes, ring lights, and some out of context scriptures and just plain nonsense. This is why this episode is necessary because navigating dating as a believer, it feels like you're trying to mix holy water plus, throwing a couple of red flags and pray to God to turn, this disaster into wine. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But let's get into the real talk about this. All right, real talk. Most of us know what a situationship looks like. We don't need a textbook definition. We know the playlist, the slow fade, the we'll see energy. So let's not act like that's the issue. The issue is that you know the drill, but you still take the shots. So, y'all, I love me some Golden Girls. Sophia was my girl. So, picture this. You're at a nice little gathering, a little get together, so to speak. This cute dude shows up. I mean, he real cute. He's got some good jokes, but not the ones at your expense. He laughs at your jokes. He's hearting your IG stories. Your friends are giving commentary. But still, you're on the phone composing, a whole made up life in your head. The possible future that you're going to have. You know how the story usually ends, but you're still hopeful anyways. Now, that hope is not a weakness. Let me preface that. It's not a weakness. It is complicated though. And hope is not the same thing as blind faith. Hear me now. Hope can be a hunch, a little prayer, a little fantasy, a longing. And sometimes it's all of those things together at once. But here's the thing. Hope plus lack of clarity is going to equal confusion. Yeah. Like, you're not dumb for staying in situationships or things like that. You're human, but we need to stop romanticizing this grind of hoping, that the evidence is going to show up, that he's going to be great when the evidence is showing inconsistency. Like, don't, you know, just don't, okay? We're not ignorant of these things, but why do we keep doing it? Like, why do we keep ignoring these red flags? Now, I'm gonna use something that the kids taught me. This part gonna be tea right here, okay? Why do we, as women of faith who are smart, prayerful, we go to church, we participate in our community, why are we the ones ignoring the red flags? And I'm gonna say this. It's not just a one size fits all answer. I feel like there are layers to this. And let's talk about that layer one, the wait on God culture. Now, some of us were taught that we should just pray and wait, and God's gonna send the person that's gonna be for you. And speaking as one who likes to stay in the house all the time, you can pray and say that all you want. Long as you in the house and can't nobody see you, that man ain't coming. He's not. That man, that woman is not showing up at your doorstep. He is not delivering Amazon packages. But let's get back into this. So, when a man does show us interest, and even if it is messy, we say, maybe he is the one I've been praying for. Waiting is a thing where you start just watching someone, but you've been waiting so long that you start excusing their behavior because that sliver of hope that you have in your mind. But also, let me say this, and please hear me well. Don't forget that Satan, in all of his foolery, will send you a man that is almost everything that you want. But he literally is coming as a chaos agent to just destroy the peace in your life. Hear me when I say it, and I'm saying it loud, okay? Then that layer number 2, that emotional economy and labor. I'm sure you're like, what do you mean by emotional economy? Let me cook here. As a black woman, especially as a black woman, we have been conditioned to hold everything up, manage everything, and fix everything. I mean, from families, friendships, ministries, whatever it is, the economy. Y'all want us to fix it. So, when a man comes into your life and he needs some emotional labor, meaning he needs to do some work for himself, but we don't say that to them. We really just kind of default into that caregiver mode that we've always been in. Now, we are the ones doing the emotional heavy lifting because somewhere down the line, someone told us that love looks like a service. Now, I'm going to say this. I've had therapy and I thank God for it, but you are not his therapist. You are not God. You are not Jesus. He needs to be able to put some work in emotionally because sometimes people are emotionally ignorant. They just don't know their feelings, don't even want to acknowledge them. Sometimes people are emotionally immature. They're manipulative. They are, or they have that narcissism in them that is really hard to combat and you don't pay attention until you done been down the rabbit hole with them for like 3-4 years. But that's neither here nor there. We as black women, and I'm specifically talking to black women because I'm speaking from a black woman's experience. It is not your job to do the emotional heavy lifting in a relationship. I know we talk about soft life and everything else, but let's talk about soft emotions. We are not the trope of the angry black woman. We are literally just standing up for ourselves and saying what needs to be said. The tone may come off a little harsh, but I'm still sticking up for myself and saying what I need to say. But I will say this. Emotional labor in a relationship, friendship, family, whatever it is, it should be mutual. That means both of y'all. It should not be one-sided. You should not be putting in all the work. And I will say this, if they aren't putting in the work as much as they need to, you need to let them go. Yeah. Mm. Let them go, baby. Looks like another love TKO. Now, I don't want to hear too much on the singing. I know I'm not a singer. But then let's talk about why we keep them around even though we're doing the heavy lifting emotionally. It's that identity and validation. Now, I promise you, I'm not being preachy and I'm not fussing. Well, maybe I am a little bit. Sometimes, and I'm not even going to say sometimes, most times for us as women, our self worth is wrapped up in being chosen. Being chosen feels like that proof that I'm desirable or that I'm enough. Because if I'm not chosen, if I'm not enough, if I'm not this, I start questioning myself. Speaking from experience, in all of my 36 years of life, I've had a lot of situationships, let's be real honest. I have. I ain't been saved all my life, most of it, but I still was in this cycle of wanting to be with somebody because society said you needed to be with somebody. And that's just dumb. But I've had a few phenomenal relationships. Some ended badly. Well, just a couple ended badly, honestly. Some ended we were good at the end. And then others, they really just fizzled out. Like I'm thinking of the one that I had in my early 20s, like I just turned 20 something. And he and I are still friends to this day, but honestly and truly, our relationship just didn't end badly. We just can't even say we drifted apart. It just ended. And to this day, I can't tell you why. And I asked him one day, and he was like, really don't know. And to this, neither one of us can. I think it was more so because he does go to my church. People just started getting in our business, and we were like, nope, we don't want to do that. And I think really that's why it ended. But he treated me phenomenally. I never questioned anything with him. I felt secure in my relationship, and he was amazing. He's still a great friend to this day, but things just ended that way. But I will say this, because years and years of going through and you see all these other people in relationships and you like, dang, I can't get a man to save my life. Or you get a man and he's just, for lack of a better word, a dick. But that fear of not being chosen can just, it does something for you, especially as a woman. It can harm you in more ways than one. And it's so crazy because then you get with someone who is emotionally unavailable and you put in all the emotional labor in this relationship. And you're so afraid of not being chosen, of being alone, that you will not have a clarifying conversation with them because it feels too risky. You would rather be almost loved than not loved at all. And to me, that is so, so dangerous. I will say this about your identity and your validation. Have that difficult conversation, not only with them, if you are in some said, whatever you want to call it, situationship, delusionship, whatever. Have that difficult conversation with them. But before you hop into these situationships, have that difficult conversation with yourself. Know your worth. Know that your worth is far above any ruby, far above any gold. Know who you are as a woman. Know who you are as a person. Know your deal breakers. Because for me, my number one deal breaker, if you don't have your own relationship with the Lord, baby, as Beyonce said, to the left, goodbye. Like, we're done. And know how you will and won't be treated. Those non-negotiables. Because for me, I have a guy friend, and I do have a lot of guy friends, have a lot of female friends. I just don't talk about them because their business is not to be shared. But I have a guy friend. We were at a convention in St. Louis. And I was like, me and his friendship, we were going out to get something for lunch. And we were waiting on the Uber to pull up. And I was saying to myself in my head, I said, now, if he does not open this door for me, because I have seen him other times not open the door for a lady. And I was like, if you don't open this door for me, friendship over. And yes, I do. I will end a friendship because you don't know how to open the door as a man. He opened that door for me. I said, oh, our friendship is good. Our friendship is still good to this day because this was a few years ago. But hey, we're good. I appreciate it because you know how to treat me the way that I want to be treated. Because if the men in my family treat me like a princess, I don't necessarily expect princess treatment from others who are not in my family, but I do expect the utmost of respect for me as a woman. That's all I gotta say on identity and validations. Validate yourself. Look in the mirror, tell yourself you fine, pretty, handsome. If you're a gentleman, I mean, go do what you got to do, okay? But go tell yourself these things. Go tell yourself you're freaking amazing. Take yourself out on a date, babe. That's all I'm saying. And then another layer to these red flags is that spiritual misinterpretation. Let's talk about it because some of us use faith as if it is a masking tape, okay? You want to say he's complicated. I'll pray him through it. What's complicated, huh? What is it? Like, do you need to just say he as in general is complicated, or him knock you upside your head is complicated, and you gonna pray that he gonna stop? 9 times out of 10, that's probably not gonna stop if he's being abusive. Now, don't get me wrong. Prayer is powerful, but not as an ongoing band-aid for disrespect, okay? You have to make sure you're being respected at all times. Now, I will say this. God calls us to be in peace and clarity. Not this endless waiting on someone who won't commit or someone who is, again, disrespectful to you. And PSA, for all of those who want to ignore what I just said, it is not your responsibility to pray a person through if they themselves are not actively trying to change. Yes, they have to be the ones who want to change. You can pray them through when they're having a moment of like, oh, I'm struggling, but that's when they are actively trying to change something about themselves. I said what I said. But I say all this to say, ignoring red flags is not a spiritual badge. You can't be just saying, oh, it's going to get better. Okay, you can be spiritual, but let's live in the reality of it, okay? God takes time to fix things. Now, the one thing he don't, if you say, Lord, take this person out of my life because they don't mean me no good, baby, they're gone in 35 seconds, okay? It don't take long for that prayer. But if you're trying to stay in a toxic situation, you might be there for a while. And so God's like, I need you to open your eyes and see the reality of what you're looking at. But I will say, a red sign, I said a red sign, y'all. Come on, Lord, help your daughter out today. But a red flag is usually a sign that you need to run in the opposite direction. But I will say this, ignoring them is a sign that you need to reevaluate where your identity and where your worth is coming from. Now, we talk about, all of this, but have you talked about the mental and emotional gymnastics that we do to keep someone who isn't even for us? Now, I love me some sports. Football is one of my favorite ones, but I love when the Olympics come around because have you ever watched gymnastics? The flips, the twists, the perfect landings. They make it look effortless. But this is someone who is trained to make it look that way for years. Now imagine trying to be a gymnast emotionally, mentally, bending, twisting, stretching yourself to fit into someone else's narrative so that they don't feel discomfort. What about your discomfort, huh? What about that? Nobody talking about that? Now, we know elite athletes, They take time to train. They train for years. Some of them train from childhood, like Simone Biles, been doing it since she's 5. She's one of the GOATs. But they don't attempt the impossible without practice or coaches. Just like in relationships, though, or situationships, or whatever it is you want to call it. We're out here attempting these emotional double axles, round off back handsprings, all of this without a coach. We expect perfect landing, perfect relationships when we never practice those, staying within those perfect boundaries. Now, boundaries are literally love with structure. You've had them since you were a kid. You had to stay within the boundaries of something. Now, as a grown adult, use them. Okay? That's all I got to say. Now, someone who I will always and forever call the GOAT is Serena Williams, because you were playing, winning a championship with a baby in your womb. That's some strength and that's some endurance. But I love her because she shows us some fierce endurance and that fierce self-protection. She is very intentional about how she protects her body image, her frame of mind, and her focus. Now, translate that into dating. Protecting yourself emotionally is not harsh. That's just a boss move. That's a champion move, because you have to know how to protect yourself when you are entering into things like this so that you don't come out hurt and injured on the other end. Now, that's not to say that hurt and injury won't come. You will get your heart broken. You will get your feelings hurt. That's a part of life. But if you're really looking at this, because like I'm using gymnastics for a reason, because gymnastics is an individual sport, but also a team sport. So when you see Team USA, all those beautiful melanated queens out there, they're participating in their individual event, but they're also competing as a team. Now, teams who have perfect sync aren't just hoping for coordination. Now, they are in gymnastics, but let's switch this over to basketball, because those in-sync teams, what are they doing? They communicating. They practicing. They, taking it one step at a time. Okay, we need to fix this, so let's stop for a moment and fix this. They set those expectations. Let's talk about it as if they were, a team practice. Those practices are happening so that when they get on the court, they're not out here looking crazy. But what did they do at practice? They got some clarity. They had some conversation. That, the practice may look messy, but when they get out there to, perform on the court, they looking like a well-oiled machine. And that's the same thing you have to take into these types of situations in your life. You have to get some clarity. You gotta have conversation. If you're not talking to your partner, significant other, or whatever you want to call it, baby, and you just out here on vibes, what are you doing? Like, that's not gonna work. And I don't get why we don't want to talk about it, baby. Have the hard conversations. You'll be all right in the end, okay? But if you still haven't caught on to what I'm meaning by these emotional gymnastics, then it is simply this. It is us, you and me, contorting for somebody else, apologizing for asking questions when the question needed to be asked, rewiring our expectations of how we want things to go in our life, minimizing our own needs, and diminishing ourselves to try to please someone else. Now that takes stamina. It does. But not the good kind. Which is why this TikTok, Christian TikTok, has me kind of in a chokehold. Because something else I saw them talking about, which to me I feel is so stupid, is these talking stages. And are talking stages biblical? Now, I'm going to say this. The twist on that is, if he wanted to, he would. All right? That's all I got to say. If he wanted to, he would. It's not even biblical. It's just, if he wanted to, he would. Now, if he wants you, ladies, he's going to pursue you, and with intention, not just pursuing you just to do it. Now, I will say this. Don't entertain this new talking stage. And yes, I'm putting air quotes around this. Like, I get the heart and the thought behind it, but clarity and intention is in the Bible. But here's my twist. The Bible didn't invent this texting culture, okay? And you don't have to bring the Bible in on dating. Here's the twist. Stay with me. The Bible does talk about having clarity, right? Yes, because if someone wants you, they should show it. And intention is in the Bible, but the pursuit is where I feel the twist is coming in at, okay? Because we always, as Christians, want to be like, well, in the Bible, it says this. And the number one thing that everybody, man and woman, wants to quote is, oh, she's not submissive. The Bible says, submit yourself to your husband. You're not my husband. Yes, I got a little loud there. My bad. You're not my husband. I don't have to submit to you. I don't have to do anything to you because it says two husbands. Nowhere in the Bible does it talk about dating. So that's why are you bringing the Bible in on dates? Now, you can bring the Lord along with you because you take him everywhere you go. But that's neither here nor there. Like, I'm going to say this. Context matters when you're talking about dating and, your faith in the Lord. Talking stages can kind of be a window. And I call this the mutually exploring season. Because you need to discover a little something about this person. But don't just be like, oh, that's my future husband. Girl, you don't know him. You just met him 2 weeks ago. You know nothing about him. I'm just saying. And see, to me, the problem isn't talking necessarily. It's, do we have some clarity? Or is it just a vague, we just out here together? And then there's also that power dynamic that don't nobody want to talk about. Who holds the power when y'all are supposedly talking? Normally it's the person who always can walk away, the person who doesn't put any emotion into it. They can just go on elsewhere to greener pastures. And the imbalance of that is where you get your feelings hurt. Okay? Yes, that's where you get your feelings hurt. Because are you emotionally investing in someone and they're not putting anything back? No reciprocation? Are you praying for someone who literally has no emotions to give you? And you're not setting that boundary with yourself to say, I'm not going to give of myself until I get a little something back. Bottom line, if it looks like a pattern of maybe, it's not a season, okay? It's a trend, okay? That's what they're going to do to you every time. No questions asked. And you don't want to live like that. You don't want to be trend adjacent, okay? You want to be with someone who's going to give you the same thing that you're going to give them, all right? Let's tie this thing up in a neat little bow, because I've been yapping for a little minute. Now, you already know the drill. We know the signs. The reason you still take that nice little leap into a situationship isn't because you're naive or anything like that. It's because the systems that we have been taught tell us to hope and tell us to value this idea of being chosen. But like I said, hope without clarity, talking without clarity equals confusion. Emotional, mental gymnastics is exhausting. You would not expect Simone Biles to land a routine without practicing and talking to her coaches first. So why do you expect the same thing in a relationship when you hadn't had a conversation? I'm just wondering, why do you expect the same thing? So I'm going to give you a couple of little practical tips that you can use in the future going forward. Ask for clarity early. Please do. Don't waste your time. If you're wondering how he feels about you after 2 months of talking or dating, then ask. So you ain't got to waste no more time after this 2 months, okay? Check your emotional labor bank. What do I mean by this? If you're depositing feelings with no reciprocity, withdraw your feelings and close that bank account, okay? Close it. Yep. Time to move on. And rename your hope, okay? Let's not even have hope. Let's have some discernment, okay? Hope is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. But discernment is going to tell you what you need to do with that hope, all right? And let's just say this: love plus boundaries equals health. And we want you to be in health, have some emotional health. You can forgive and you can preserve your peace. And you can pray and still yet protect your heart. You're allowed to want love and to refuse confusion. Hello, come on, somebody. That's not contradictory, it's nature. And I'm not going to say it's godly, but it may be. So, okay, affirmation time. Honey, just say it with me. I am worthy of clarity. I am worthy of love that shows up. I will not trade my peace for someone else's confusion. Now, before we go, I just want to, I want to pray with you. I wasn't lecturing, I'm just, being that friend that's calling out the craziness. But, just act like I'm wrapping my arms around you and I'm hugging you. Okay? Okay? Here's a little prayer for you. Father, thank you for these hearts. Thank you for these men, these women who love you and are trying to navigate love in the in-between. Meet them where they are. Give them clarity when they're confused, God. Give them courage when they need to ask the hard questions. Protect their peace from people who only practice confusion. Remind them that being chosen by you, God, is enough, and that real love will not ask them to change their souls. Amen. Now, all right, y'all, this is the first episode or the first time we're doing Saints and Situationships. If any of this hit home, text it to your friends and or, save it for yourself when you need to hear it again. Because remember, God won't send confusion with a cute smile. But I'll catch y'all next week on Here at Save the Twist podcast.